Welcome to this explainer. I'm Bhishma Pratap, TGT Social Science at PM Shri KV Dipatoli Ranchi. I am absolutely thrilled to have you here today for this visual masterclass. We're going to trace what is arguably the most epic story ever told, the journey of human civilization. We'll be traveling back millions of years to understand exactly who our earliest ancestors were, how they survived against all odds, and how they laid the groundwork for the modern world we live in today.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here's our roadmap for today. First, unlocking our unwritten past. Second, biological and cultural evolution. Third, journey through the Stone Ages. Fourth, the Neolithic farming revolution. And finally, the rise of river civilizations.
Section 1. Unlocking our unwritten past. To start off, we really have to grapple with a massive timeline. Before we can even look at kings, empires, and grand cities, we need to understand how we uncover the story of humanity before anyone even knew how to write. Over 99% of human history falls under prehistory. This spans from about 3 million years ago right up to, well, just 5,000 years ago. For this vast expanse of time, we have zero written records. None. We rely entirely on artifacts, things like tools, bones, pottery, and ruins, to reconstruct how people lived. On the flip side, written history makes up less than 1% of our time on Earth. It's a tiny, tiny sliver, but it's where we actually get to use written documents to fill in the complex details of society.
You can really see the boundary between those two eras clearly when you compare ancient scripts. Take the pictographic Harappan script, or the Sindhu Lipi. Even today, this script remains completely undeciphered, locking away the specific written thoughts of those people. But in stark contrast, we have scripts like the Brahmi inscription from around 400 BCE. This script was deciphered and formalized by Emperor Ashoka, and it firmly grounds us in the historical period. The invention of readable writing is basically the switch that flips us from prehistory into history.
But this brings up a massive puzzle, right? If writing is so recent, how do we know so much about our ancestors without those written records? How do we hear their voices when there are literally no words to read?
Section 2. Biological and cultural evolution.
So the crucial point is that the answer lies in the incredible detective work of archaeology and the dual story of our evolution. Human progress isn't just one single timeline. It's actually two parallel tracks. First, we have biological evolution. This is the story of our physical bodies and genetics, tracing the gradual, long-term changes from our early ancestors, like the Australopithecines, which means southern primates, all the way to us, modern Homo sapiens. But parallel to that is our cultural evolution, and this is the fascinating story of how we adapted to our changing environment over the last 26 years by developing tools, techniques, and technology. It's not just about how our bodies changed, it's about how our minds solved the complex, everyday problems of survival.
Just imagine holding an early stone hand axe. This was the ultimate survival multi-tool of the ancient world. It's generally agreed that our earliest ancestors lived in Africa, but around 2 million years ago, an early human ancestor known as Homo erectus, the upright human, became the first to actually leave the African continent. And when they left, they carried hand axes and cleavers, just like this, spreading this foundational piece of technology all across Asia and Europe.
This ability to create and use tools is so defining that it gave rise to the term hominin, which groups modern humans together with our early tool-making ancestors. Creating these tools around 3.3 million years ago marked the true beginning of human behavior. It's what separated us from the animals. Why? Because these tools functioned as what anthropologists call extracorporeal limbs. They were literal extensions of the human body, allowing early humans to smash, cut, and scrape things they simply could not do with just their bare hands.
Once you have a tool, you can shape the world around you. But how long did it take to go from smashing rocks together to actually building the foundations of a complex, settled society?
Section 3. Journey through the Stone Ages.
Let's map this out chronologically. We start millions of years ago in the Palaeolithic or Old Stone Age, where humans relied strictly on hunting and gathering, using those basic stone tools. Then, moving forward to the Mesolithic or Middle Stone Age, things start getting more refined. By the time we hit the Neolithic or New Stone Age, we see a massive shift toward agriculture and domesticated animals. Following that, human ingenuity unlocks metallurgy in the Chalcolithic period, where copper is used alongside stone. And finally, about 5,000 years ago, we enter the Bronze Age, marked by the mixing of copper and tin. This spurs the rapid expansion of trade and early civilizations.
And this brilliantly illustrates that technological leap.
We're not talking about a crude, smashed rock anymore. We're looking at a carefully shaped, advanced stone tool from the Mesolithic era. During this period, humans started making these smaller, much sharper microlithic tools. With better tools, they became way more efficient hunters and gatherers, and that efficiency allowed them to start occupying temporary settlements near rivers and lakes instead of constantly moving every single day.
Now, staying in one place temporarily was great, but it wasn't a civilization. Something radical had to happen to make humans stay put permanently. So what caused this monumental turning point?
Section 4. The Neolithic Farming Revolution.
It all came down to observation. As hunter-gatherers spent more time observing the seasons, they learned how nature actually worked. They figured out which plants could be grown and which animals could be tamed. Early humans began cultivating crops like wheat, barley, and rice. And because they had to stay near their crops to tend to them, they finally stopped wandering. They built permanent settlements, houses made of mud, wood, and stone. They started crafting advanced, polished tools specifically for food processing, and even developed earthenware pottery to store everything they grew. The cascading effect of these changes was absolutely massive. The Neolithic Revolution wasn't just about farming, it completely rewired human society. By domesticating plants and animals, humans established stable, permanent villages. But here's the absolute game changer: the production of surplus food. When you can grow more food than you actually need for the day, you can store it. And if you have stored food, well, not everyone in the village has to be a farmer anymore. This unlocked the division of specialized labor. For the first time ever, people could dedicate their entire lives to becoming expert potters, weavers, or tool makers. Villages grew into towns, economies formed, and the bedrock of civilization was laid. It is incredible to think about, isn't it? That simple ability to grow a surplus of wheat or rice literally changed the world, transforming isolated tribes into deeply interconnected societies.
Section 5. Rise of River Civilizations.
It is amazing to look at the urban planning that quickly emerged from this. Because of the technological advancements and economic integration that started in those early farming communities, massive urban centers began to rise. Places like the Harappan or Sindhu-Saraswati civilization boasted incredibly well-planned urban cities. We're talking sophisticated water management, covered drainage systems, standard weights and measures, and highly distinct social organizations. Humanity had officially built the metropolis.
Let's move to and see how this builds globally. This urbanization wasn't just happening in one place. Around 5,000 years ago, during the Bronze Age, 4 major world civilizations emerged independently, and they all had one specific geographical feature in common: fertile river valleys. You had the Sindhu-Sarasvati civilization along the Sindhu and Sarasvati rivers, the Mesopotamian civilization between the Euphrates and Tigris rivers, the Egyptian civilization thriving along the Nile, and the Chinese civilization taking root in the Huanghe Basin. These rivers provided the water and the fertile soil necessary to sustain massive agricultural surpluses, which in turn supported tens of thousands of citizens.
Geography really shaped destiny here. For instance, because Mesopotamia and the Indus and Saraswati valleys are relatively close to each other geographically, they weren't isolated. This proximity facilitated strong trade contacts and incredible cultural exchanges between the Mesopotamian and Harappan civilizations. On the flip side, because the Egyptian and Chinese civilizations were geographically separated by vast distances and harsh terrains, there's very little tangible evidence of direct contact between them and the Harappans at that time. The environment offered both incredible opportunities for connection and massive challenges. We've traveled all the way from the earliest unwritten days of stone hand axes through the agricultural revolution right up to the rise of massive river cities trading across continents. It is a true testament to human resilience and ingenuity. So, I want to leave you with a provocative thought to reflect on today. Looking back at everything we've explored, if you had to choose just one major innovation from these early civilizations that changed our world permanently, what would it be and why? Think about that. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep exploring our fascinating past.